financial problems, elder law, criminal law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by THAV GROSS. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is, the tax bill came. What do I do about it, along with these other bills? Drum roll, good morning.
Brian.
Jeff Linden.
Good
How are
morning,
you?
Ken.
Nice to see you. Pat
Thanks for having a
Simasco.
moment.
I'm here.
Jeffrey Kirshner. We got the whole crew here today.
Got the whole crew. I'm just sorting out what's going on in my practices right now, so happy to be here for the call and the fun.
You have to give us a quick update on that, but did I forget someone? Brian Small, good morning.
Could
Good
never
morning,
be forgotten.
Ken. How are you this morning?
Well, I thought about bills and I just didn't think about you for some strange reason.
Hey, you know what? It's all right because this is about taxes, and I believe Mr. Linden will be taking the forefront.
Well, but bills are yours. But before we get to that, what is new other than uncertainty in the area of Social Security disability?
As my favorite emoji. I like that emoji. It's crazy. It seems calm-ish, but the storm is coming. We don't know for certain what that storm is going to look like. For certain, they are laying off people in the field offices. The field offices are typically the backbone of Social Security, where people go apply for benefits if they have a problem with their health benefits, things of that nature. They go to the local office. That's where you start, whether it be for retirement benefits or disability benefits. And those are the offices where everything starts from, and those are the offices that are getting hit hard with regard to people either taking those early buyouts. We heard about those, you take...
So what's the consequences are going to be that people are going to have to wait a long time to get things addressed?
Couple things. First of all, absolutely slowing down. If it wasn't slow enough, it's absolutely slowing down. They just have less manpower.
Is that going to affect your cases?
Correct. It's going to slow things down.
Which is funny because if we go back a couple months ago, you were saying they were speeding up.
Correct.
Yeah.
They absolutely were speeding up, and now this is going to slow it down because of the local offices processing things. They're losing a lot of very good people there, so it's.
Are they going to cut judges too, or they're not talking about that?
They haven't talked about that yet. We'll see what happens.
So for the judge, his docket's going to become slower.
So that's a problem, and also whether or not you need to come in person to prove who you are. For a second they did everyone blanketed.
Right away. Yeah.
And then they pulled back on the disability portion, but still with regard to people applying for their regular retirement, they said you got to come in.
I think it's you can go online if you're able to do it online, but if you're not able to do it online, you can't do it on the phone. You now have to go in.
That's the
do
problem.
you think that this whole online thing, I mean, I suspect that it is a problem for a certain group of individuals at this point. But if you went 10, 20 years in the future and you moved everything to being online, the generations that are coming up are used to doing everything online.
Yeah,
so
That's the AI
that,
part of it, right?
But so a lot of what I do is online.
You're making the assumptions like, I'm a retiree, I could collect benefits, I applied online, no big deal at all. I would prefer to do it online rather than waiting on hold to talk to somebody, and I certainly don't want to have to go make an appointment and sit in a waiting room. But that's someone who, as lawyers, we're technologically savvy, but not everybody
I
is.
just heard
how's that
how
printer?
you beating the hell out of your printer.
yeah, I was gonna
last
say, how's that printer?
I'm technologically impaired and
That's
sad.
technically.
So anyway, so there'll be more.
that's
And just for the record, it wasn't my fault. It was the printer, and the printer had it coming.
Exactly. Anyway, there will be more updates, I'm certain, in later shows
Yeah.
to see what happens. Not great things right now, but we're still surviving. But I certainly encourage people,
Move quickly.
Start if you're thinking about it. Do it
So
now.
if
before
you're
it gets more
thinking about
complicated.
becoming disabled, do it quickly.
Correct.
I-
Exactly.
Well, that's why I
Plan ahead.
came here.
That's why you came here?
That's why I came this morning, because I'm never with all my team at the same time.
I thought it was because you couldn't sleep.
Well, it was because I've been thinking about a couple of cases that I have right now. So for Medicaid planning, if mom is going into the nursing home and she wants to apply for Medicaid, you can't give away money for 5 years before you apply for Medicaid. That's the 5-year look back. Unless you have a disabled child. So if you have a child on Social Security disability, they allow you to give all the money to the disabled child without any look back. So you're protecting the next generation. The question I'm having is you have to be determined disabled by Social Security. What if you don't have any credits? If you don't have enough credits to apply or not to be awarded,
Can you
the
be
Social-
determined to be
Well,
disabled
if-
even though you don't have the credits?
Yes, that's the
The
question.
answer is no, but if you don't have the credits for SSD, then your other avenue is SSI, but that's need-based and you can only have a certain level of income.
Can you get determined disabled medically or mentally, but still not approved for the benefit because you have too many assets?
No, because it will never get
You
to
can't-
that part.
you-
Because
part of
if you don't have
the-
enough credits, you
But
never get...
how do you get that accomplished time-wise? Is it, or that's a planning one? Where
Well-
it's not where the critical, all of a sudden,
And
dad's
is
in
the
a nursing home.
Medicaid and is the Medicaid rule specifically that you have to be declared disabled pursuant to Social
Yes.
Security disability?
Yes.
That's
So
a problem.
it's
Yeah,
like an
screw it up.
impossibility then.
Because there's a black hole where people don't have enough credit, they haven't worked enough, so they're not eligible for SSD, but they have, if you are married, joint assets can't exceed $3,000. If you are single, other than a place to live in a car, your assets can't exceed $2,000. So you could fall in that black hole that you don't qualify for either of those benefits, even though you very well may be disabled.
And
So,
that's the trouble. It's
We're coming up to a break, but real quickly, what are you seeing issues with Medicaid, with the Medicaid cutbacks that they're talking about? Does that impact
we
your
haven't
elder
had,
planning?
because Medicaid cutback, it's all state. Everything for Medicaid, it's a federal program, but it's ran by each state
But
specifically.
doesn't the federal money go to
We
the
haven't-
states to run it?
We haven't
seen it yet?
We haven't had any problems with it yet.
All right, so tax problems.
Oh, I thought we were
Okay.
going to
We
change
didn't
the
get my
name of the
answer.
show.
Wait, you didn't answer my question. Are we just out of luck?
You're out of luck.
Oh my
Certainly from
God.
Social Security.
You're out of luck. Let's take a break.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
If your loved one is struggling with age-related issues, let our family help your family. Call Samasco Law now. We're family-owned and growing. Meet Joe Frizard and Kelsey Samasco, our newest superstars. We'll handle your issues with care, compassion, and dedication. At Samasco Law, we'll leave no stone unturned until your family is protected for the long term. We'll walk together. That's what families do. Samasco Law. Protect what matters.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, so we're back. So you're out of luck on your problem, and we're going to have to do a whole show on this particular issue. That's a real sensitive one. We'll try to plan that for next month. All right, so you got tax. You filed the tax return, but you owe $20,000 in taxes, and you got credit card debt, and the economy is pinching you right now. And the question is, what do you do about it? And I still want to throw this into the context of my favorite 3-point retirement plan, which says your ultimate goal is to own your home free and clear, have zero debt, and have some savings when it comes to retire. If you don't keep that ultimate goal out there in the cloud right behind your head while you're thinking, then you don't have any direction as to where you're ultimately trying to get to. You've got to stay on that track, and then your moves and your changes and your steps should be designed to pursue that goal. So, what do we do? How tight is money right now, Brian? What are you seeing out there in the bankruptcy world? I'm hoping that you tell me you're very busy.
Well, how about this? Unfortunately, we are very busy, and the bankruptcies are growing exponentially at the moment. And what's happened is that realistically, the cost of eggs has caught up to the average person. Literally, people are walking in, and it used to be that a family of 4 could adequately survive on between $100 and $125 a week for groceries and eat well. Grocery budgets have ballooned for the average family of 4 up to between $250 and $300 a week. And wages haven't gone up. They're stagnant. Nobody's making any more money, and they're spending more money on food. They're spending more money on gas. And what has happened is they put all this extra expenses that they couldn't afford on their credit card because they could afford the minimum monthly payment, which allowed them to go into debt.
But now they're tapped out.
They're tapped. And
right, so that problem's been going on since the time we started the show.
It's really getting bad. And
so you don't mean eggs, you mean just the cost of food. Everything.
Yeah, the cost of everything. Think about when you used to be able to go buy a car for $30,000 and your car payment was $400 a month. I'm seeing car payments for your ordinary regular car at $800, $700, $900.
So take that as an example. There's a major segment of the population, particularly in our community, because we're Detroiters and we've always been
build
car
cars?
people. Yeah, we do car people. That you have to have the new car, and you either have to lease it or buy it, and every 3 to 5 years you have to get another new car, and you're getting sucked into this $700-800 payment. Why not adopt the approach of saying the cars are built a lot better now than they were built in the 70s? Why not say, you know what, I'm going to make a pattern of buying a 3-year-old car, and instead of paying $60,000 for it, I'm going to get the same model with 20,000 miles on it, and I'm going to pay $35,000 for it. Why don't people do that?
That's an
Because
interesting.
Isn't that the solution? My solution is I'm driving my 2019 Nautilus for another 20 years because I don't put a lot of miles on anymore.
But you see, that's an interesting concept, except there's a fallacy in it. The cost of used cars has gone up dramatically. Because we have a 25% tariff on all cars built outside of the United States, combined along with the parts. Now used car prices are skyrocketing. And then interest rates to to finance a used car are around 8 to 10% if you have good credit. So now,
have you seen, have the prices of the used cars skyrocketed in the last 2 months since the tariffs came?
Yeah, prices of
So
new
maybe
cars
it's time for me to sell the 2017 MKC
No,
that I
it's
have.
time to keep holding on to what works because
I mean,
if
I'm
it's
not
pay-
going to
you
sell
know,
it because I don't want to buy another car, and I don't want a car payment.
But eventually, cars wear out, and
Well, if you put enough miles on them.
yeah.
It's not the car, though. It's the fact that you had your problems with your printer just 2 seconds ago, and you were going to go out and buy a brand new one instead of trying to figure out the paper job.
Right, and that printer now is going to cost you an extra $100 to buy,
And
which
the-
is
and the
inconsequential in the grand
laptops
scheme of
and
things.
everything
But it's
else.
an extra
Well,
$100.
the big
because
question
of the
on
tariff.
the inkjet printers is the ink going to go up? Because the ink is what's really expensive.
all
The
going
printer
up.
they give you away. It's 145
Everything's
bucks for a
going to
beautiful-
go up. That's the point. And what isn't going up is wages, which means that you have to do something to protect yourself and your family. Eliminate your debt any way you humanly can.
Well, I hear you, but I have a question for you. Okay, so you can eliminate the debt. How are you going to stop the fact that the prices are going up?
You can't. You can't.
So you have to
Remember to
strike to
vote.
get more wages?
Remember to vote.
Well, I mean, let's not get too overly political, but the tariff thing is going to play out over the course of the next 2-3 months, because if the impact of the tariffs cause extreme hardship to the mass public and the stock market, which I figured I have to now delay my retirement that was imminent because of the down that I'm suffering in the market, but that's okay. It's going to come back up, maybe, eventually. But if all this trauma continues, there'll be change. The administration will react to the change because their approval ratings will go down,
Okay.
I would think.
What about
So that's
taxes?
what on the financial planning,
Pam.
we walked
Pam?
into this, the question was, how much can you afford to lose?
Yeah, I thought about this morning as I was driving over, and if those words came up during the show, I had my planned answer. And it is not this much,
Yeah.
and I can tell you that
Yeah.
much. But I mean, you just have to kind of, but what do? You got to write it out.
And sometimes you can't write it out because
Yeah, if you need the money, you can't
That's
write it
the
out.
And the
problem.
problem is that people are making a lot of mistakes, including borrowing from their Uncle Sam.
Wait, you can get a loan from Uncle Sam?
No, you can just not pay your taxes.
Let's take a break and then tell me about the loan.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
The doctors ask if Dad's affairs are in order. Did Dad ever talk to you about what we should do in a situation like this?
Not a word.
What should we do?
We should have called Samasco.
Don't wait. All it takes is a quick call to Samasco Law or go online and fill out a request. We can get your needs and wishes set in stone so your family doesn't have to play a guessing game when the chips are down. Protect what matters. For power of attorney, call Samasco Law today.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Time for announcements. I want to announce THAV GROSS has opened a new office downriver in the Horizon Building on Eureka Road. So now we're in Flint, downriver, and also our home office in Bingham Farms. Remember, you can always come in for a free consultation. You can do it by Zoom conference, in the office, any way that works best for you. Just call 888-235-HELP or go to the website, thavgross.com, to sign up. Debt issues, tax issues, estate planning issues, business law issues, elder law issues with Pat or Kelsey, disability issues with Jeff Kirshner. Again, sign up at lawandreality.com or thavgross.com or just call 888-235-HELP. Also, if you go to the website, you'll see there's free reports. Resolving Tax Problems, The Real Solutions by Jeff Linden and myself. Bankruptcy, Is It Right for Me by Brian Small. How to Save Your Home from Foreclosure. Business Formations, Loans and Grants for Small Businesses in Detroit and Michigan. And The Retiree's Guide to Social Security by Pat Samasco. I want to thank our sponsors, THAV Gross, Samasco Law, Kirshner Law. Now back to the show.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirshner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
All right, so we're back. All right, Jeff, you've taken up all the show talking about taxes.
I know.
So, all right, let's talk about taxes for a second. All right, so you're saying borrowing from Uncle Sam. First problem that we see on the business side. Business gets pinched. All of a sudden they fall behind on their payroll taxes. What do you do in that situation?
Stop doing that first, because that's going to kill you fast, business-wise. But you, for businesses that are still in business, I mean, you have to catch up and be current, and you can get into an installment plan for your debt, but you got to stay current, because the penalties and the interest and the collection actions start accelerating like
rapidly.
Wildfire.
You know, just to put it in the framework, so when we talk about payroll taxes, you own your own business, you've got 15 employees, you withhold from their paycheck every 2 weeks or every week what amounts to being $3,000, $4,000. And you're supposed to take that money and then you have to match it on your FICA and your Medicare, and along with the withholding, and you have to send it to the federal government and you have to send the state withholding to the state. What happens when companies get behind, businesses get behind, is they pay the net payroll and the depository's due on the feds 3-4 days later and on the state a month later, and the cash isn't in the bank, and they say, well, I'll take care of that next week. And they know that it's not the right thing to do, and they know it's wrong, but they do it anyway, and then the next week comes and they do it again, and then all of a sudden they're already behind on their payroll taxes anyway, and they're saying, well, I'm already behind, what's another week? And all of a sudden this grows and you're now 3/4 behind in your payroll taxes, and you have a liability of $100,000, and with penalties and interest you now have a liability of $200,000, and the trust fund portion, the portion that you withheld from the employee, their withholding, their share of FICA, their share of Medicare, can be assessed against you individually. We call it trust fund liability.
Right, for civil penalty.
Yeah.
The other mistake that they make is they don't understand. There's a common thing in our clients that we have to repair, is that when they get behind, they start, okay, well, I'll catch up, I'll pay the late stuff, I'll pay the older stuff. And what they don't understand is that you have to stay current, meaning now. So the proper thing to do is, if you're behind, pay your current taxes now, because that's the key to the door to get help on the older debt. If you're paying your arrears and not your current one, you never get help, and then they just crush you.
And the other point is, you can't do this on your own.
Can I ask a quick question
Yeah.
before? If you're didn't pay in for your employees, do the employees get penalized?
No.
Not and their ultimate.
Their W-2
No.
They're
gets
all-
credited to them as if the
They don't
money
get
was
out
there.
of it.
Oh, good.
That's
good.
It's a good question, because if not, that would be a major disaster.
Yeah.
Then the employees would be suffering as a result of what their employer did. But here, my point is this: you can't do this on your own. You need help in this situation, and you need help on two levels. The first level you need is you need someone like Jeff to get control of the IRS, get you into a payment plan, and get control of the problem. You also need business help. Brian, somebody, because if you're operating your business at a loss to the point where you can't pay your payroll taxes, you have to make changes. Your options are this: you either have to increase revenue, decrease expense, or go out of business. If you think you can continue to run the business and not pay your payroll taxes, you're deluded. And payroll taxes are
Non-dischargeable in bankruptcy.
very good. That's a big problem. So you're creating a liability that you can't get out from under, which is a real serious problem. We have means and methods of dealing with that problem, but the better solution is to not have that problem. So it's like you've got to deal with that quickly.
Please
What-
don't do it by borrowing it from your parents or taking it from your parents' joint bank account. Don't get it from the money, because then I got to deal with it.
You got that problem too, and then borrowing the money to catch up on the taxes may be a solution to the tax problem, but if you haven't changed the business model and you're still falling behind, you're not getting anywhere anyway. All you're doing is delaying the same problem that's going to keep recurring.
And it's the
then the mom and dad's bank account goes way down.
And it's the same problem on an individual basis. If you owe individual income taxes, people make the same mistakes. Borrow from mom and dad. They pay the back due stuff, and then they keep not withholding, or they change their withholding taxes.
So you got solutions. You got bankruptcy possible solutions on the personal. You got offers and compromise on the personal.
Right.
You got payment plans that can be. We have remedies.
You even have
to the
currently not
problems.
collectible, where you can't afford to pay anything, and the IRS will let you be as
For
long
For a
as
while.
2 years.
For 2 years.
as long as you seek the help.
Well, but wait.
Well, it's not really
We,
2 years.
we
It
only
could
have
be
30,
longer.
we only have 30 seconds left. So answer this question: if they're laying off everybody at IRS, why should I bother paying my taxes?
Because they're still going to come after you.
Who's they?
The remaining people at the IRS that
Well-
want to keep their jobs.
Remember, 90% of IRS collection is run by computer, not people.
The computer's going to get you whether you like it or not. So you better get a plan in place, because Lord knows you don't want to fight the computer. Have a great week. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.